Welcome to the November 2020 edition of Beef Monthly. I'm Dr. Ron Lemonager, Beef Extension Specialist in the Department of Animal Science at Purdue University. In this month's edition, we're going to start out with headline news, and we're going to be talking about the beef outlook. In management tips, we're going to talk about spring and fall calving cow herd management practices. In events, we're going to be talking about Hoosier Beef Congress update with Matt Clays, area beef meetings with Neil Smith, the president of Indiana Beef Cattle Association. We're going to talk about a new program called Beef Basics with Dr. Nick Minton, and we're going to talk about the Indiana Beef Cattle Convention update with Jim Herr, who is the chairman of the Indiana Beef Cattle Convention Committee. And then we will continue our series on shoot safety in the January edition of Beef Monthly. And now, a word from our good friends at Corteva.
Your land is more than a business. It's a heritage that has been passed down from those who tended it before you, by those who shaped it, changed it, and cared for it. Your land has a legacy, one that you carry on, but also one you build on. At Corteva Agriscience, we are the stewards of a lasting legacy. We have a responsibility to Dow AgroSciences, to maintain the relationships and trust they built, and to build upon those foundations. To help you care for your land, to provide innovations that help you protect the hard work and investment you've poured into it. To help you build a legacy that can be passed on for generations to come. Corteva Agriscience.
We begin headline news with Don Close, Senior Animal Protein Analyst at Rabo AgriFinance, who says that disruptions to the beef industry from the COVID-19 pandemic will likely linger into 2021, but the results may not be all that bad. In an interview conducted on December 9th, Close said, "We are set up for an incredibly interesting but challenging year. We have a large inventory of cattle in place for the first and early second quarter of 2021. But because of the contraction in cow inventory we've had over the last 2 years, the calf crop going forward is going to be smaller. We could be set up for a counter-seasonal year where we don't see the highest prices for fed cattle in March and April. As fed cattle supplies tighten in 2021, we could actually see third and fourth quarter of 2021 prices exceed our second quarter highs." For cow-calf producers, Close said the smaller supplies of feeder cattle will support prices, but his biggest concern is the expanding drought conditions across the western United States that he believes will further accelerate the liquidation of cows. He's not going to say that that's all bad, because it will get us to the bottom of this cattle cycle in the market somewhat faster. The North American Meat Institute says that the packing industry has spent over $1 billion on equipment and alterations in response to COVID-19, and Close believes that that takes a degree of risk out of the fed cattle market for cattle feeders in the future. In a related topic, Paul Dykstra from Certified Angus Beef reports that as we end the year, there is a relatively safe guess about what the beef cow herd will look like in the near future. The story is a two-sided one, with both losses and benefits. The National Drought Monitor tells a story of worsening conditions spanning a large portion of the West, with many states badly in need of moisture. The fallout is evident in the beef cow slaughter pace, recently exceeding that of 2019, which featured the most aggressive weekly fourth quarter cow harvest counts the industry has ever seen. This graph shows on the red line kind of what's going on in terms of the weekly beef cow harvest. And you can see the red line, which is 2020, exceeds virtually all the other most recent lines. The imminent impact of individual producers is significant. Several areas of California, Oregon, Washington, Wyoming, and Colorado face long-term resources and property losses from fires. Still, scores of others have reduced their stocking rates to preserve pastures and minimize already soaring winter feed costs due to the drought. In this month's management tips, one of the first things I'd like to recommend is making sure that you get your forages tested and you develop a cost-effective supplementation strategy. The second one is lice. Okay, we're about the first of the year and typically lice become a problem, and so developing a strategy for controlling lice with these winter hair coats and the dust and hay chaff that falls on these cows and the mud, lice is going to become a problem, so you might need to think about treating for lice, and this is probably a two-step process. The next point is to deworm your cows if you haven't already done so. We're past the killing frost, and quite honestly, deworming cows not only will help save you on your hay cost and forage cost, but it also might give you some residual lice control. The next point is to protect your cattle from wind chill, okay, using windbreaks, either natural or man-made. The difference between a 35-degree Fahrenheit thermometer temperature and a 25-degree Fahrenheit wind chill, for thin and wet cows, the requirement goes up by 30% for that 10-degree drop in wind chill below 35 degrees, all right? For cows in good body condition with dry winter hair coats, that increase in energy requirement for that 10% drop in wind chill is about 13%. So we can save some money if we can protect these cattle from some wind. The next point is start planning for the spring grazing season, okay? Think about your fertilizer needs and your seed needs for this upcoming grazing season. For spring calving cow herds, think about condition scoring your cows, okay? We know that condition score of cows at the time of calving will really determine the length of that postpartum anestrus period, and so having cows in the right body condition will help you stay on target for the next breeding season by making nutritional and environmental adjustments. Calving is not very far away, so think about your calving supplies and your facilities like calving pens, etc., to get those ready. For the fall calving cow herds, again, body condition score is an important piece. Make nutritional and environmental adjustments as necessary. But one of the things that's really critical here is that the first trimester of gestation is when many of the really important tissues start to develop for example, the brain, the heart, the primary muscle fibers, okay, that will ultimately determine how many muscle cells, okay, an animal ultimately has. And then the other one is the follicle numbers, okay, that will really determine how many follicles that a heifer has when she's born that she will carry with her for the rest of her lifetime. And these follicle numbers are important because they're a very strong indication of future fertility. Another point is checking your hay quality, okay? One of the things that we know is that if a calf is at 75 days of age, over 80% of its nutrients come from milk. But by the time that calf gets close to weaning age, less than 20% of its nutrition comes from milk. If the only thing that the calf has to consume is average quality hay, like the cow hay, performance is going to be jeopardized. So fall calving operations might need to start thinking about doing something like maybe creep feeding, okay, and you need to do an economic analysis of that, or maybe even early weaning these calves. We know that early weaned calves have a really high feed efficiency of 3.5 or 4 pounds of feed per pound of gain, and that may be cheaper than some of the other alternatives. In this month's upcoming programs and events, we're going to have updates on Hoosier Beef Congress with Matt Clays, area beef meetings, with Neil Smith, the president of the Indiana Beef Cattle Association. A new program called Beef Basics is going to be another topic that we're going to have, and we're going to talk with Dr. Nick Minton on that one. And then the last event is the Indiana Beef Cattle Association business meeting and convention, and we're going to have an update from Jim Herr.
Everyone, and welcome to the Hoosier Beef Congress segment of the Beef Monthly program. Just wanted to bring you up to speed, and I know that the IBCA office has done a really good job at trying to get information out over the social media and direct emails to you. But we are having the Hoosier Beef Congress that was postponed, not canceled, but postponed, and moved to February 19th through the 21st of 2021. Now, if that's a time that you can't make it, the IBCA office has certainly got a refund mechanism in place, and you need to contact them if that doesn't fit within your schedule. But Hoosier Beef Congress is a great educational event, and the committee has been working really hard to make sure that we continue with that event for you, just going to hold it in February. Now, one of the events that we're not quite sure of yet, and we do have approval from the safety plan standpoint at Purdue, is the livestock judging contest. We have all those changes made to meet the requirements that has been set out by the governor's executive order. One of the other events that's not going to be held in February is the auction of the all-star cattle and the breed cattle that we typically have on Friday and Saturday. We have the show on Friday, the sale on Saturday. The online sale, though, is going to be this Monday, December 21st, on willoughbylivestock.com. The actual URL will be in the show notes, so that please go ahead and connect and get on to that and look at the stock that has been set forth. All of them are pictured and videoed right now, so go ahead and take a look at those cattle and see what those opportunities are for those junior projects in 2021. Hopefully you have a good holiday season. We look forward to having you in February, and we'll have much more detail in January about Hoosier Beef Congress.
Joining me to talk about the regional beef meetings that we're going to go virtual this year as a statewide virtual event is Neil Smith, the president of the Indiana Beef Cattle Association. Welcome, Neil.
Thank you, Ron.
Neil, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming regional beef meetings that we're going to do virtual. A time, date, kind of what do we have planned for that?
So the regional beef meeting this year will be all virtual, like you mentioned, and it will be on January the 12th at 7 p.m. And instead of our typical 10 meetings across the state, we're going to have one virtual meeting with everybody coming together at the same time. A lot of the same kind of information that we've had in the past. Beef cattle update from IBCA, as well as a beef council updates, NCBA updates, also some extension presentations with some live question and answer sessions that will tie into those informational videos as well. This year we're also gonna give some door prizes, I think, okay, at the event. Okay. So just kind of be aware that you'll need to go to ANSC, ANSC.TV, ANSC.TV, and sometime right after Christmas, that registration site will be open. And if you register by 5 o'clock that day on the 12th, you'll be eligible for door prizes. And we hope that, everybody across the state that's interested in beef cattle will join us that night. Yeah, we hope we have a great crowd and hope everybody can join us.
Neil, thank you so much for kind of
talking a little bit about the regional beef meetings, and we think it's going to be a pretty neat event.
Thank you very much.
It'll take us about an hour to do that program. Unfortunately, we won't have the social time and we don't have the free meal, but it'll still be a good program. Neil, thank you so much for joining us. Have a Merry Christmas.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Another upcoming event is a program called Beef Basics, and I've got Dr. Nick Minton has joined me today to talk a little bit about the program. Nick, let's talk about the time and who this program is for.
Sure. Yep. So this program is going to be launched in early 2021, beginning January 19th. It's going to run for 8 consecutive weeks on Tuesday evenings, with each session being its own specific topic. And so this program is really geared towards individuals who are relatively new to raising beef cattle or beef cattle production. So those folks that are, probably have less than 5 years of experience, or those folks that are interested in entering into beef cattle production, and are seeking more information and, may not know necessarily how to go about that. So, this is a great program to provide them the opportunity to interact with folks that work in beef cattle production on a daily basis.
And Nick, this is going to be an online program, right? So people can watch this kind of from their home computer or their home office.
Yeah.
And what time of night are we starting that program?
Yep. So the programs will begin at 6:30 p.m. and then run through 8:30. And, that might cause some folks a little hesitation, right? Sitting in front of the computer for 2 hours. But how that is structured is that there will be 2 presenters each evening and to cover that topic, along with a moderator that will monitor the chat box. And we're encouraging folks to enter questions into that chat box so that the moderator will provide those questions to the presenters and offer a more interactive program and break up that evening for folks and really encourage discussion, not only between presenters, but even those who are in attendance.
So what's the program cost?
Yep. So the program costs $40 to attend the program. And so that in doing so, you will have access to, the presentations that night. They will be recorded, but they will only be made available to those who registered for the program. And so, life gets busy, right? And so if you can't make it or attend that evening, you have an opportunity to go back, listen to that session, and then, ask questions, before the next session or, even during the next session.
And I don't think we've got the all of the connectivity set up yet, but we're going to put a URL in the show notes that people can go to register for this program. So we've got who, we'll know kind of who's involved and, from a participant standpoint, and allows us to maybe do some follow-up survey work that, what did you think of the program? And it'll help us improve that program. So we're going to need a way to be able to get in touch with each of our participants.
Right.
And so there will be a registration, that will require $40. And we in the show notes below, we've got the URL for basically a CVent procedure. And anything else, Nick, about the program that it's give the viewing audience an opportunity to kind of think about what topics might be covered. Have you got an idea on those? Yep.
So the topics that we're going to cover are they're on the flyer, but we're going to start off with actually yourself and Mark Kepler providing an overview of what's all involved with beef cattle production and going into the fundamental principles there, right? And then from there we'll transition into behavior and facilities, kind of touch on some what do you need to properly keep cattle in the pasture, and then how to properly handle them when you're working them. Move into health, forages, nutrition, genetic selection, and reproduction. And then we'll have a program review that last session to, an overall wrap up of the program and allow additional opportunities for folks to ask questions.
Excellent. Hey, Nick, thank you so much for joining us and, to talk about this. And I think it's going to be a great program for those producers that want to learn a little bit more about, the beef cattle industry and the production practices that are economically viable.
Sure. I agree. Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
You bet. Hey, Nick, have a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
You too. Merry Christmas.
In this segment, we're going to talk about the upcoming Indiana Beef Cattle Convention. And joining me is Jim Herr, who is the chairman of the convention committee. He also sits on the board of directors of Indiana Beef Cattle Association. And with this COVID deal, Jim, we've kind of got some things that we probably ought to talk about. So let's begin with the fact that we're probably going to delay our activity. So I'll let you have the.
Thank you, Dr. Ron. Yes, we met this morning actually and talked about the future of the convention. We had set it for January 23rd, which is the date really it would have logically fallen on any given year. And of course, at that convention, we have our annual business meeting as a board, and we elect officers. There's certain things that are involved there for the bylaws, but also we have very informative sessions. Usually we'll have people from NCBA, such as Ethan Lane, the vice president of legislative affairs, would have been there. Marty Smith, the president of NCBA, was slated, as well as Dr. Jennifer talking about BRD in an educational session. So we had some stuff that we were putting together that based on the rules that are out there today in our world of COVID, we're not able to get that many people together in these breakouts and the venue. It just doesn't work well for January 23rd. So we bumped that. And today, as we talked about it, we've decoupled the annual business meeting. So instead of having it all in one, we want to get this annual business meeting accomplished. There's other things besides just informational sessions there that we want to do some voting, and the things are necessary to satisfy the bylaws of IBCA. So we're going to plan on doing that as a board, and it's open to the whole membership at the Hoosier Beef Congress. Probably late Saturday morning, February 20th. We're working on the exact times and the building. All of these things we'll be able to work out. I spoke with Barry Westner, our chairman of the Hoosier Beef Congress, this morning before I came on. The committee was very comfortable with getting this plugged in. So there's no real hurdles there. And we're going to also make this available virtually as well as in person for this annual business meeting, probably a 30-minute to an hour, depending on what we try to accomplish session. Then we're going to get back together in March, Ron, and we're going to talk about the opportunities to put on a really good quality event, something that's more like a convention, whether it be at a field day setting or maybe in conjunction with a breed association. We don't know yet what that looks like, but we're going to get back together as a group in March and make a firm's hard to say in this world, but a true commitment to finding some spots on the calendar and trying to set up a valuable event for our Indiana cattlemen. So that's kind of the nutshell there.
Jim, I mean, it's a tough situation that we're dealing with the COVID all the way around, but I do appreciate the fact that, you and your committee have taken this seriously and come up with, a viable plan to meet the needs of our membership, okay, meet the needs of our bylaws in terms of the Indiana Beef Cattle Association, for the business meeting part. But the other critical piece is the educational and social interaction that takes place at a typical Indiana beef cattle convention, and that's still a valuable part that I think most of our membership holds kind of dear to their heart. So
yeah, so great point. We're on there, we're talking about the virtual thing came up, and I work in the seed industry well, and as we've had a lot of virtual things as well as many others, but we just didn't have a stomach for that. For the things that we want to deliver, we felt like cattlemen wanted to be in person, farmers wanted to be in person, and we needed to find a way to at least attempt to get to that level. Dr. Bruce Lamb was right there. He's always someone that we really value in committees or boards or whatever, talking about that personal touch, and then the committee rallied behind that. So, we've got hope and determination. I guess that's what we're going to go into March with for our first, our first next planning meeting on the convention side.
Well, and the National Cattlemen's Association has kind of done the same thing in postponing their convention from that February timeframe to next August, with that same goal in mind. Okay, of being able to get producers together and have that social interaction as well as the educational pieces. So, Jim, thank you so much for joining us today and kind of bringing us up to date on where we're at with the Indiana Beef Cattle Convention.
You're very welcome, and I'm grateful that you took the time to get our information out. And we are always looking for ways that we could better contribute to the success of beef cattle in Indiana. So hopefully viewers get a hold of this and think about what's important to them and share it through the Indiana Beef Cattle.
And just to add just another comment to that, I'm sure that the viewers of this program, if they've got some ideas or some suggestions, get a hold of either you or get a hold of the Indiana Beef Cattle office, and give us your input.
By all means, that's what makes us great, is when we get multiple counsels from multiple directions.
Jim, thank you so much, and have a Merry Christmas.
Same to you. Merry Christmas.
To wrap up this edition of Beef Monthly, I'd like to ask our viewers to do 3 things. Number 1, please go directly below this video and give us a thumbs up. The second one is to share this video with fellow beef producers you think might be interested. And number 3, if you haven't already done so, please hit the subscribe button to receive email notifications when a new edition of Beef Monthly is posted, and click on the bell next to it for an alert. From all of us to all of you, we'd like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
This presentation was a production of the Animal Science Department at Purdue University.